6 feet apart with Christi
and Casey.
You have stepped into our bubble. Hey, Casey.
Hey, Christi.
What's going on?
We're back.
We are back
for another podcast.
Another episode.
All right. Well, I guess before we jump into it, our weekly or bi-weekly.
All right.
What did you watch since we last met?
Yeah. What we got going on this week?
What did I watch? So I haven't watched that much TV this week, but I feel like my husband and I spend so much time like trying to figure out what to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And lately
it's a big thing.
I know. Sometimes our entire like window of being able to watch something is just like
surfing.
scrolling.
Yeah.
But my 7-month-old has figured out how to like grab the remote and just like, well, he doesn't know what he's doing. But
right.
Random things end up on the screen.
Yeah.
So our new thing we decided to is just like go with whatever.
Oh, that's cute.
So something came on the other day and we had no idea what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But it started off with like someone having an affair, and anyway, now we're watching this. So it's Dr. Foster. Have you ever heard of it?
Okay, I've not. I was about to say there is something called The Affair. I was like, is that it? But no, I've not heard of.
Dr. Foster.
Yeah.
I don't know much about it because this literally happened like yesterday. I think it's a British show, like a mini series, and we're like 3 episodes in.
Okay.
It's about this woman who's a doctor, and it basically starts with the husband having an affair. So.
Okay.
It's like all like really intense, and like it seems like there's something even like more sinister going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure if it's just all for like it's all just framed around the affair and like her finding out who it is. It's sort of like her finding a hair or something. And there's some side stories with her like being a doctor and her patients and stuff. And I don't know, it's like not something I would think I would like.
Yeah.
But I'm like pretty engaged with it. I want to know what's gonna happen. Like something crazy is going to happen because she's like bottling up all the stuff she knows.
But she knows and he doesn't know that she knows.
Yeah,
right?
some of that.
It's one of those things.
I don't want to do all these spoilers, but I think it's so we're confused because I think it's a mini series. So I think it's like 5 or 6 episodes. But then there's apparently a season 2 now also. So I was like, where's it going to go?
Yeah.
This is all going to get wrapped. It's a fair thing. I think it's going to come to some crazy end. But,
yeah.
So I'll keep you updated.
That reminds me of this. There is a show, like I said, called The Affair.
Okay.
And it's like the different perspectives between the man having the affair and the mistress, I guess, and how she saw things and how he saw things.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting, but I didn't really, I think I maybe watched 2 or 3 episodes and.
Like a drama or? Is it
like it's like, it's a drama, but it's like, it got too much for me.
Yeah.
Their facial expressions and everything, it's just.
Yeah, this I actually feel like it's not really like the subject matter I would like, but the acting's actually really good.
Right.
So I'm
really
engaged in it. So.
Yeah.
We keep like guessing there's like crazy things are gonna happen, like he's like a drug lord, but it's like I think it might not actually be that crazy.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway,
it's usually never. Well, I don't want to say it's usually never what you think, but the good ones, it's not what you think. Yeah. Some of them you can just predict. Let's see. I am rewatching because the pandemic has taken away my season 7, Grace and Frankie.
Okay.
And I absolutely love that show. I really do. These are some very, very funny ladies, and Lily Tomlin this lady is a comedic genius.
I really like.
I mean, she is a genius in comedy. I love the fact that she just likes getting high all the time and, like just flirting with random people and flirting with Grace and just trying to get her high. It's just, it's so warm and fun and funny and it's perfect for this time.
Yeah.
You
started back at like season 1, episode 1, or you're just like rewatching random?
Yeah, so I started rewatching random episodes that I remembered and I wanted to go back and look at them, and then I went back to season 5.
Okay.
And so I'm on season 6. I probably have like 3 more left.
Okay. I've seen most of it. At some point, I kind of just forgot about it.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. I need to revisit it and kind of figure out even if I don't remember where I left off, just watch.
Yeah, you should totally go back to it.
Those ladies are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool.
All right. So what are we talking about today?
So I thought it'd be fun just to have a pretty light episode.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about kind of our hobbies, especially in quarantine. It's been over a year.
Unbelievable.
I know. So kind of to talk about what we've been up to. I watched a few of these kind of videos like really early on
Mm-hmm.
in the pandemic, and just to try and be like inspired and like try and figure out what to do.
Like pandemic hobby videos.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So maybe I don't know, maybe we're soon out of it, maybe not. Maybe this, will
We're
give
getting
someone an
close.
idea of something to do, whether
Yeah.
it's the pandemic or not.
Or
So,
not, yeah.
thought we can just kind of like go back and forth and like say one thing at a time and kind of just talk about it.
Yeah, okay. So let's see. Like you said, we've been in this a little over a year. I know that there was like this bread baking craze that happened with so many people was
And you couldn't
baking
get
bread.
any ingredients.
Couldn't get anything.
I remember no yeast, no flour.
Yeah, I remember people getting upset, like saying these pandemic people, like it's ridiculous. I've been baking bread, and you guys just started.
Yeah.
I remember it was a big deal. Did you get into baking bread at all?
So I didn't bake bread at all. I did have a short little pandemic baking phase. And I think that's only notable because I do not cook at all. Like, I cannot
Gotcha.
emphasize this enough. I do not cook one meal in our house ever.
Wow. Yeah.
My husband is the cook. If for some reason he's, like, on a business trip or something, I'm, like, probably eating Hot Pockets or, like, I don't cook anything. Like, maybe if there's some vegetables in our refrigerator, I'll, like, throw it into a salad. Like, minimal effort. So,
Right.
the fact that I had probably like a month or so, this might have been in like May, maybe it was back in May or something, where I was baking cookies. That was like a big deal.
Was this like cookies from scratch?
Yeah, cookies
Okay.
from complete scratch. But yeah, it was fun. I mostly did either chocolate chip
My favorite.
or oatmeal chocolate chip. Not oatmeal raisin, ew.
Yeah.
Those were my two go-tos. And the thing I found that I really enjoyed was I realized I could make like a ton of them and just freeze the dough, and then you can bake them like
Sure can.
over,
Yeah.
which I never like thought about before. It's
Yeah.
probably like a really easy thing. So I would actually make the dough, and then I would roll all of it into little balls, and I would bake a few right away, and then I'd freeze all the rest of the little balls, so they were like super easy just to bake going forward. That was fun. It's actually, so my husband's like the cook and the bake of the house, and he's like an amazing cook, but he's not that good and doesn't really like making cookies.
He's not a baking person.
He likes baking some things. He's always like, I found cookies like really hard to get right.
Yeah.
And like, so I don't know, I like was drawn
It's
to
a
the
science.
cookies.
I mean, baking is a science.
It is.
And that's, I feel like a lot of people, like cooking meals, you can throw in things and make all kinds of adjustments, but baking is a science, So it's like, you do feel like you're in the lab to get it right.
It's true.
Yeah.
But I haven't, that was a while ago, and I haven't. I keep thinking like, oh, I should make cookies. I'll like crave them. It was so nice. It was just like a spurt of like energy that I wasn't like super lazy in the kitchen. But
all of a sudden it was just like, let me get into cookies.
Yeah. So,
but that happened during the pandemic. It's like random things that you just said, I'm going to do this now.
Yeah, and there was just like so much comfort in it, and like every night like baking a few. Did you get into any type of like the bread baking or anything?
Did not get into the bread baking. I did start making, so I was making like my own like hair pomade, and I started making my own dill pickles.
Nice.
And which I have like 4 jars in the refrigerator now. It's weird because I'm trying to think if I'm going to stop that. Like if there come a time where I'm just not gonna dill pickles.
Yeah.
But for now, I did it and I really enjoyed it. I loved this notion that I was eating my own pickles. I just, because I started in, I already really like gardening, but I really ramped it up, during the current pandemic. It was like, I just went to town.
Yeah.
So that was, didn't get into the baking, but definitely into like making my own
So what's like the
things.
process for?
So I
I know you're
grew
just talking,
the
like just cucumber pickles or like.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, in everything, I think the best part was that I grew the cucumbers, grew the
Okay.
dill.
Cool.
So, it really is like homemade, not just home done, but like
Yeah.
homemade, homegrown. Um, yeah, so I started doing that. I was getting into the process of trying to make my own jam.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I felt like pretty soon, because there are so many things that was missing in grocery stores and stuff at the very
That's
beginning.
true.
And so I started saying, you know what, we're just going to start doing this stuff on my own. Pretty soon I'm going to be self-sufficient. Won't need to go and get bread,
Is there
any of
like
that.
So you said you did cucumbers. Were
Mm-hmm.
you already like growing cucumbers, or
Mm-hmm.
you already were
Yeah.
when the pandemic hit?
Yeah. So
Oh,
cucumbers were
that's
already
convenient. Is
there.
there like, I guess cucumbers are like in the spring. When's cucumber season?
Yeah.
It's
So
not winter. I don't
no,
know.
but technically they're pretty hardy.
Okay.
So yeah, they're gonna springtime. It's a ridiculous amount. I mean, I had so many cucumbers, it was ridiculous. I was
Okay.
like handing cucumbers to people. Does anybody want cucumbers?
Okay.
It was ridiculous.
Like in
Yeah.
the ground. I want to
They
like grow
they
some.
grow
So.
on the vine.
Okay.
So I have I got like a little trellis
Mhm.
and put that against the fence. 'Cause at first I was growing them against the fence. And I mean, you can go from one or two cucumbers that are like kind of small, and you go out there 1 2 days later and you're just like, where did this giant, like 5 giant cucumbers are there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're really fun to grow because they're pretty easy.
Okay.
Yeah. So in the dill,
Dill
it's
grows
quite,
like crazy.
yeah, it
So
does.
I mean, we're lucky. We live somewhere. We live in New Orleans. It's really conducive to like growing pretty much everything.
Mm-hmm.
My issue has been when I've tried to grow things is like the pests. So
Right.
herbs and stuff I've been pretty good with whenever I've tried to grow anything. The
Yeah.
pests don't really seem that interested in the herbs. But
Yeah.
whenever I've tried to grow any type of vegetable, it's
Mm-hmm.
like I'll start to grow and all of a sudden the entire thing is devoured by
Oh, yeah.
by caterpillars and stuff. So
Yeah.
how do you
Yeah.
how do you
So,
deal with that?
cheap beer.
Cheap beer?
Cheap beer. So you can take,
Stop.
yeah, you can dig a little bit of a hole, like around,
Okay.
okay, around where your vegetables are. You put like a little bit of half a plastic cup,
Okay.
pour some, I'm saying cheap because we don't want to waste.
Yeah. So any beer.
Our
but, like,
good,
why
any
would
beer,
you use your
but
craft
yeah,
beer?
exactly. We don't want to use our good beer for Caterpillar.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that'll keep them away.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay.
I mean, there are things that people tell you like peppermint. I've grown peppermint around.
Right.
For some critters it works. It doesn't. For all of them. But
yeah.
but
I've
yeah.
never, I'm originally from New Jersey, and
Mhm.
yeah, it's definitely so easy to like have things start growing here.
Mhm.
But the pests, like, they'll just take over.
They
and
will. Yeah.
I'll give up pretty
Yeah.
easily.
I mean, the caterpillars ate my. I let it happen because we were getting into winter.
Yeah.
But they ate my milkweed. I mean, like to literal dust. I
Yeah.
mean, it was dust
I know.
flying in
New
the
Jersey
air.
it would be like, here's one little caterpillar like
Mhm.
munching on the leaf, and here it's like thousands of
Yeah,
caterpillars
exactly. There's
swarming.
30 on a leaf. Yeah.
It's so scary.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
bad.
I don't know what to
Yeah,
do.
it's really bad.
So gardening, I guess it's turned
Mhm.
into like pickling
Yeah.
and gardening.
Yeah.
Anything else you like planted that you're particularly fond of?
Let's see. So people would tease me because I wasn't like a vegetable eater. But there's something different about growing your own. I will grow greens and spinach
Yeah.
and green beans, and I will
That's
eat those. I have my strawberries, all of that. So I actually took the pandemic to pull up the garden beds that I have and then replant in different locations. So
Cool.
now I have like a raised bed with like onions and potatoes should come up.
Wow.
So yeah.
You're like self-sufficient over there.
I mean, look, somebody can give me a few acres and I'll have a whole farm of food.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I had like a planter box and planted a bunch and basically just like cayenne peppers and oregano took over the entire box. So I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with
Yeah.
this much cayenne.
Yeah, it's a
and
lot of
oregano.
cayenne. Yeah.
And everything else just like kept dying.
Mm-hmm.
But that's awesome.
So what else did you get into?
I guess I'll kind of stay on the same like outdoorsy theme.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have backyard chickens.
Nice.
Which was something I had before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I was so busy with work that it was just kind of like something that existed, and I didn't paid enough attention to them to like
Mm-hmm.
keep it going. But I really couldn't put that much focus on them.
Yeah.
So, and I do. They are very easy. So I
Okay.
do say like even someone who's pretty busy can have backyard chickens.
Yeah.
I know people that have been intimidated, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I've had so many different pets. Like they are very easy.
I can't wait to get some.
Yes.
Yeah.
You'll love it. But it was nice to actually have some more time to like pay attention to them.
Yeah.
So we built a bigger coop.
Mm-hmm.
We had a really we had we had three, and they were in a pretty small coop. I mean, enough room for them. I'm like,
right.
I don't want to. I think the size we had was like good enough for like 6 even. So
Yeah.
it was fine, but.
They don't call them coops for no reason.
Yeah. I'm pretty like I want them to be like pretty free and stuff, so I don't want to like pack them into like the max amount.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that bothered me the most about our coop was like you couldn't. It was short, so you
Mm-hmm.
couldn't really get into it. Like you'd have to like reach to try and get anything or
Right.
get to them or like crawl. So I don't want to like crawl in like,
Yeah.
the chicken coop. So we built a much bigger one.
Mm-hmm.
That
Walk
has,
in.
like, a walk-in. And
Nice.
it's so fun. So yeah, just to be able to like walk in and like play with them. We also built a little like roost thing, like a wooden
Mm-hmm.
dowel for them to hop on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's
Any
nice.
little slide for the eggs that you guys do?
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Slide for an egg.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good idea. I've seen little swings,
Mm-hmm.
which would be cute. So yeah, I feel like I've just learned a lot about them. We're unfortunately down to 2.
Really?
Yeah. So I think so. We had 3, and
Mm-hmm.
one was old. We had lost one a long time ago to like
Mm-hmm.
a raccoon attack, and then we got 2 more. So 2 of ours were younger, and one was
Mm-hmm.
older. So during the pandemic, at some point, one was acting kind of funny. We were trying to figure out what it was. We thought they might have something called leg mites because like their legs were a little like scaly.
Mm-hmm.
So like 3 times a week, my husband and I would like scrub their legs.
Oh, wow.
With like soap and water and like
Wow.
put Vaselines trying to like kill the mites.
Mhm.
I'm not actually positive because if they have it, they'll all have it. It's like
Right.
super. It spreads throughout the coop. So
Mhm.
I'm not. It looked like they had it. If they had it, I think they didn't have that severe.
Right.
But the one that was older, that was sicker, just like kept getting sick. And I don't really know if leg mites would do that. So it's either
Mhm.
that, just like they had it and it got really bad in her and caused some other infections, or she just essentially died of old age. 'Cause
Right.
She was
Okay.
around 5 or 6, which is like, I mean, they can live longer than that, but that's still in the realm of like being an older
Right. Okay.
chicken. So that was hard. That's the first one we lost. That was like just dying of sickness,
Mhm.
old age. Like the raccoon, like we were all walked out. We're like, oh, that's a
Yeah,
that's a
you
dead
knew it,
chicken.
yeah.
But this one, it was like she was sick for like weeks, so it was kind of hard.
Wow.
We were trying to figure out what was wrong. So, and the other ones act so crazy the whole time. Like they're
Really?
so like
'Cause they know that she-
depressed.
yeah.
So that's why it was hard to, because one of the other ones, like all her feathers were falling out. And we're like,
Wow.
well, does she have an illness too, or is she just acting
Is she just stressed
weird?
out?
Yeah, but as soon as
Mhm.
the other one was we knew she was gone. Like
Mhm.
the other one perked back up. Again.
Really?
Like she was out of the coop. So we're down to 2. Our space now could probably hold like 10 plus.
Okay. Wow.
I don't know if we'll go there, but I
Yeah.
do want more than 2. They do like to be like around each other.
Yeah.
And stuff, so.
Do you see them differently? Because I know that once you start to have time to pay attention, to animals and raise them in ways.
Yeah.
You view them differently. Do you view them any differently now? Do you see like a level of intelligence in them that you never thought they had?
Yeah. I've always liked animals a lot. So I knew I would like be emotional towards them.
Mhm.
But yeah, I know some people, once they stop laying eggs, they'll like slaughter them and eat them.
Right.
Which makes sense, but it's
It's
like
the cycle.
It's but
Yeah.
I'm like, I couldn't do that to
Yeah.
the ones that were like, I do see them as pets essentially.
Right.
It's not the same. I've had cats die and I've had chickens die, and it's
Mhm.
definitely not the same.
Mhm.
But I still like them a lot. I think if anything, I don't know if I find them particularly intelligent, but they're really like sweet. Like once I get to know you, like they do like being pet and like they'll come up to you and stuff. So that's cool.
Yeah. Because I've heard people say like, oh, you don't realize they're so intelligent. And I'm like, I don't know. Are they that intelligent?
I don't think they're that intelligent.
Yeah.
Maybe I have stupid chickens. So yeah, not that intelligent, but yeah, just like really personable and like, you know, they want to like social, I guess. They're more social. I didn't realize they liked being around each other that much. Like when I first had 2 and then one got attacked by a raccoon, I like talked to people like, oh, don't just have one. Like they don't want to, they'll get really depressed if they're like by themselves. So and obviously the best part of it is lots of eggs. So yeah.
Man, the good fresh eggs.
It's awesome.
That's what I'm anticipating.
Yeah. And it just like happens. Like it just happens. And I never need to buy eggs.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to get some. I already have my names picked out for them. Yeah, I'm gonna be real ready for the chickens, my golden girls.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So what else did you get into?
What else did you get into?
Let me see. Well, I did do, I guess, talking about the backyarding, I got heavily into birding.
Right, and talking about birds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a good transition.
Yeah. Very heavily into birding. And now I am just so obsessed with these creatures. I mean, I've always loved birds. I used to have a pet bird, a canary, when I was a kid that I aptly named Twerp Twerp. You know, so I've always loved them, but I had never paid attention to this degree.
Yeah.
You know, and talk about intelligent. You know, people say bird brain a lot, but I'm like, I don't know. These are some very, very intelligent. Exactly. They say it as a negative. But, you know, that reminds me, I should look that up to see if bird brain was considered to be a negative connotation. Because, you know, a lot of birds, especially like some of my favorites, the chickadee, who's tiny, but can survive really harsh winters. And they do increase the capacity of their head to survive, you know. So I wonder if there's some other type of original connotation and we took it and changed it.
Yeah.
But very intelligent creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think when you say, I just know you like birds a lot. But when you say you got into like birding, I don't actually know like what that entails.
Like the difference in that?
What you bought, like
what
does that mean? So
yeah, so there is like a like of the birds, right? And a lot of people like birds naturally. And then there's also a study of them, you know, to where you go out, you look for them, you identify them by song, you learn them, you take pictures, of course. I mean, I probably have as many pictures of the birds as you have of your son.
Have a little like slideshow of like the birds in here. See if we can make that happen.
I know. I mean, it would be great.
Some, like,
have them scrolling in the back.
In the corner. Maybe we can pop up some Christy's birds.
Yeah.
We'll
I mean, I have a ton of birds. Like, you know, and I went from recognizing 1 to 2 different species to, and I mean different species like in my yard. Okay. Right. So a lot of this started off as like backyard birding.
Okay.
And I read something the other day that said a lot of people got into backyard birding, you know, during the pandemic, but now I can identify 10, 12, 13 different species of birds just in my own backyard.
Okay.
You know.
So is this something like you have to like live like in a location that like has that's like more rural, or you can like do things to get these birds to like come to you? Yeah,
so you can do things to get the birds to come to you. So number 1 is to feed them, right? And put out certain food, because different birds eat different things. Like I have whole peanuts that I know the blue jays are coming to pick up. Like they will pick up a whole peanut, go to the tree, crack it open, and have a ball. Cardinals love sunflower seeds.
Okay.
So there are certain seed types that you can put out for different birds. There's also certain plants you can plant for different birds. You know, I have plants for hummingbirds too, of course, who
Oh, of course.
Yeah, those are my favorites too. But yeah, I have plans for hummingbirds and yeah. So it's different things you can do to actually draw them.
So someone can like live in a, I mean, we live in a city and have a little backyard and do things to get.
And do things to get. So you would put out certain seeds. You know, first thing is that you find out the birds that are typically in your area.
Okay.
Like the other day, I had a gray catbird show up. I mean, singing his heart out, you know, in the tree. I had never seen him.
Yeah.
Now he could have been on his way somewhere else. You see that a lot. You have some that migrate, and so they migrate through past you, but they'll stop to eat. They may spend a couple of nights or a night, you know, or a day technically, because they usually migrate at night.
Yeah.
So you'll wake up the next morning, you have a brand new bird because they arrived, you know, early in the morning.
That's so cool.
Yeah, they typically migrate late at night because the air is cooler, and they can get further.
Okay.
So yeah, you really don't want to get me started on the birds because
I feel like I do though.
I got a lot.
I know, but I feel like you talk about it like it's so like, oh, obviously this and this. And I'm like, no, I think most people, especially people that don't naturally live somewhere that's like very like forested and like
right
in nature,
right.
They just think like, oh, I'm so removed
from the
from
even
that.
thought
like,
of them.
There's
yeah.
no way for me to like have this hobby or anything.
Yeah. Oh
so,
no, you
like,
can totally have the hobby.
Yeah.
And one of the best things I think is that, you know, we're so used to hearing birds sing, is to be able to identify their song. So I'm gonna give you an example. I think it was DJ Jazzy Jeff, you know, from Fresh Prince.
Oh, okay.
And he put out a video, and he said, you know, I woke up to this bird, and he was like, listen. And so the bird sings, and then he says, that sounds just like such and such a song. And then he goes in, he spins the album, and it sounded like that song, right? And I'm reading the comments, and people were saying, how you get a bird to chirp on cue? Like, this has to be fake because a bird, you don't get a bird to chirp on cue. And, you know, I was like, the reality is that they have a pattern. So you know exactly when that bird is going to say the next thing, you know.
Okay.
Like, so if they're singing, you know when it's going to repeat that song, you know. So, of course, I wanted to be like, birds have patterns, you know.
So, okay, so you're mostly doing all this in your backyard.
Mostly,
correct?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there, like, now that this is, like, your new passion, are there, like, things in this, like, birding world that, like, you want to do in other places or...
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So now, you know, if I walk through the park, let's just say, I'm consistently looking for them, consistently trying to hear for them. You know, of course, I have like identifiers on my phone, so.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
So
like,
oh, crap, like, I don't even know what.
I mean, you know, to identify their song, because most of the time you're gonna hear them before you see them.
So like Shazam for birds.
Yes,
wow.
like in a way, yeah. There's like a Shazam for birds.
Okay.
Yeah, so you hit it, it'll play the song. Listen, even in my backyard, I promise you, no matter where I am, if you look up, you rarely realize it, but there's always at least one bird looking down at, like, that never fails. There's a bird around looking down at people all the time.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I actually, so going back to my chickens, once we built the bigger coop, I started noticing birds more because our old coop, the spaces were really tiny. That nothing else, there were never really any other obvious critters in the bird cage. Like, not even the coop, I mean more part of like the big, the run, like the big cage we have. But the big one has these like bigger slabs. They're still pretty small, but they're big enough that small birds can fly into.
Yeah.
And there's obviously food inside the chicken run. So now there's always these little small birds.
Yeah.
All inside the chicken run that were never there before because they couldn't fit. The old one was really tiny. So now I'm like, oh,
I love
so
that.
cute. There's all these birds.
Yeah.
Although, not to like be a Debbie Downer, when we realized that they were possibly sick, I was like, oh, because that happened after
the birds like carry
coop,
disease.
I was like, oh, now there's other birds in there. Did they like?
Yeah.
That was possible just from the research I did. So.
Yeah, it is possible. I mean, typically the ones that are going to fit through there, like I have a lot of, they call house sparrows and something that they call pine siskins, which actually look just like a sparrow, except they have like yellow on their wings. And they're tiny, and that's one thing you realize too. A lot of birds are really small.
So small.
They're so
Crazy.
small. You only see their detail is because you take a picture of them. But you know that little chickadee that I love the chickadee with the black cap.
Yeah.
I mean, this bird is like could fit on one finger. You know, they're that small. Yeah. So yeah, they can definitely get into the chicken cage.
Yeah.
Yeah, but without pictures, you really would not see their detail. A lot of them. Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. So yeah, we'll try and insert a little bird.
Yeah, we need to do like a slideshow of
Yeah.
of all my bird pictures. I have plenty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time with the birds.
Did
you?
I did.
I don't know how much we want to get into like current events and like political stuff, but obviously I think of like the story that happened with the man that was bird watching in Central Park.
Yes.
That, like,
yes.
do you feel like really connected?
I did.
To that?
Yeah, I really did.
Yeah.
You know, because he was his passion came from the fact that her dog was off the leash and they attack the birds, right? And and that was like sacred ground for them.
Dogs off leashes really bother me.
It bothers me in all kinds of ways outside of the birds, just in all kinds of ways it bothers me. Yeah, but I can say with facilitating so many bird species in my yard, I've had some felines that have stalked them.
I'm surprised that with the amount of stray cats around your house, it's not always like a bird graveyard.
Yeah, it's not. Amazingly, it's not. But the cats in my area are just pretty. Yeah, they're pretty lame.
That's funny. Yeah.
And they get fed. You know, neighbors feed them, so they're not hunting like that.
Yeah, cats and birds, just
Yeah, not the best of friends.
Not the best of friends. Yeah.
So, what did you get into as far as like? Did you attempt to? I know you had a baby.
I had a baby.
Not to make that big deal, but
yeah, I don't know how much I'll talk about that. I mean, it's like hard because it took up it was a big thing that happened. Maybe we can do another episode about kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was half my pregnancy was into the pandemic.
Yeah.
Now I have an almost 8-month-old.
Did you do anything? How did you get into, or did you like exercise routines, that kind of thing during a pandemic to try to take baby weight off?
Nope.
So just kind of
nope, I haven't
let it
done
be.
Anything. Yeah, no, none of that. I was super lazy. I used to work out more and yeah, no.
Yeah, nothing.
How about you?
Oh, gracious, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I gained the dreaded pandemic
I'm on
pounds.
that side of it. I don't want like the gaining. Some people I think do get into shape during the pandemic. So.
Some people lost weight.
Yeah. People like, really, I'm gonna use this time. To, but not me.
Me either. No, I went straight lazy. Yeah.
I will add since I feel like everything we talk about is so like natural, like birds and plants, and I spent a lot of time playing Pokemon Go. I have to add it in here because it was probably one of the things I spent like the most time doing.
Was this like a boredom thing, or was this just like I enjoy this and I now have the time?
Yeah, this is like such a funny thing to talk about because I feel like anyone that plays it will like get what I'm saying, and everyone else will be like, "What?" So big Pokemon fan back in like the 90s. Like I was really into it. So then when Pokemon Go came out, like it's been out probably for like 5 years now, I think.
Yeah.
I downloaded it. I've always played it a lot. And I don't know if when it first came out, like it was like everyone was talking about it because there was just like groups of thousands of people that would like meet up to try and like catch this Pokemon.
Yes,
like,
I remember like the initial craze of this.
Yeah, and I think because I played, I like would notice it. So if we were like driving past somewhere, walking in the park, and I'd see a big group, just they're like on their phones, have a certain look to them.
You knew
I was
that
like, oh, they're catching a
happening.
Pokemon.
Yeah,
like I would just see it all over.
Yeah,
and Chris, my husband was like, what? I was like, oh, that group is going to catch a Pokemon. Like I can tell. So I have never stopped playing since it came out, which most people are like, what? That's still around?
I mean, that's how I think. Like, Pokemon Go is still a thing.
I know, it's so funny. Even say, like, 2 or 3 years into it, I would, like, go to the park to, like, catch it. And there might be, like, a big group because it was, like, a rare Pokemon or something. And there'd be some, like, random people walking by, like, oh, what's going on? They want to know why there's, like, a crowd. And so someone would be like, oh, we're playing Pokemon Go. And they'd be like, what? That still exists? Like, that's still a thing? Yeah. Like, every time that was, like, the reaction from, like, a common person. But it's the people that hung on, like, if you got past the initial craze, like, there are still, like, a good amount of people
that still play.
Like, I promise you, if you go to City Park on any nice day, like, you won't notice it because you're not looking for it. Right. But there are groups of people playing Pokemon Go. Yeah.
So, was this a part of getting you out, too? Or,
yeah, so that was a big part of it. It was, like, one of the safer things you can do outside.
Right. And still be distanced.
Yeah, which was so nice. They've also, anyone that played the first few months and then stopped, they've added so many things. Like, I don't even know all the things to do in the game anymore. There's, like, a ton of things. There used to be, like, one thing to do. And like, this is so lame. But now, like, they added so many different things, like, you can't even keep up anymore. And it's funny. So one of the things that, they had added at some point were, like, these raids where you basically, there's, like, a Pokemon that's, like, in a gym, and you have to battle it to get it. But it's, like, a really powerful one, so you need to meet with other people, go to a location, and all battle it together.
Gotcha.
So when the pandemic hit, they got rid of that because they're like, we don't want people gathering.
It's funny that the game shifted like that through a pandemic.
Right.
That they
and
even
incorporated
something like
that had to, because... And it's funny because now looking at the pandemic, that would still probably be, like, a pretty safe thing to do. Because you don't have to be super close to each other. You can still be pretty spread out. Just be in the vicinity of where the thing is. And you're outside. So it's funny that they took that away. But now, the more we know about it, that would be, like, a pretty safe thing to do.
Yeah.
But they basically added, like, remote raids where you could be, like, in your house and, like, click on something, like, kind of far away and, like, get it. So you didn't have to necessarily go to it anymore, which the game was, like, originally not about, but like they had to add it because in the beginning of the pandemic they didn't want to be like encouraging any people to like meet up in groups.
That's real interesting that the game would even take that type of precaution.
I actually think this is I think we forget how crazy it was in the beginning that like people didn't even know if they could like leave their house, like even like distance. Like it was really, really crazy at the beginning of the pandemic. So I think even small things that weren't even like group activities, just anything that required you to kind of go out and get a Pokemon or go out and walk a Pokemon or anything like that, the game switched all these things that you can just, like, do it from your couch, which is, like, kind of not in the spirit of the game. But they had to. Like, we can't be... I mean, there were countries where, like, you couldn't even leave your house. Like, we can't say you have to leave your house to play this. So
I think Italy shut down for, like, a few weeks or something like
China.
that. Yeah.
I don't know if they have Pokemon Go, but... so it's changed a lot, and now it's slowly so now it's like a hybrid of things you can do sitting on your couch and things you have to go out and do, but it's crazy. Pre-pandemic, so crazy, Pokemon Go. Pre-pandemic Pokemon Go, there was really nothing you can like sit on your couch and play Pokemon Go. You had to go out and do it, and now like half the stuff you could like sit on your couch.
You could just sit there and do like a typical game.
Because of the pandemic. Yeah. So I forgot kind of that progression, but I think one thing I have to mention, because anyone that plays, and I think this is so notable for me, is that I hit level 40, which when the pandemic started and when the game started was the highest level you can hit.
Gotcha.
And it took me 5 years or whatever. And I remember turning to my husband a few months into the pandemic. I hadn't hit level 40 yet. And I was like, what do you think will happen first? Lockdown will end or you'll hit level 40.
Yeah.
And he's like, looked at how far I was from level 40. It takes a long time to get there.
Yeah.
And he was like, I think you'll hit level 40 first. And I'm like, damn. And that happened. I probably hit it in, like, the fall or something. You know?
It's crazy.
And then I think so many people probably hit level 40 during the pandemic that they actually... So for 5 years, that was the highest level you can get now. It's, like, 50 or something.
Oh,
like,
wow. So they had to add...
I'm still on 40, though, yeah.
Yeah.
It takes, like, forever to advance. But, so that... I did hit level 40 before the pandemic ends.
I mean, there's so many things that you didn't think... I think at the very beginning, we were just like, oh, couple of months or something like that. And you thought we'll be okay.
Yeah.
At first it was just like 6-week lockdown. It's just like, okay, fine, we can stay here for 6 weeks. And then you did start to realize I better start learning, or getting into baking or finding
I
these
know.
other things to do because this thing's not going anywhere anytime
Yeah.
soon. Yeah, which is how I started with the birds in the backyard. It was
Yeah.
the only place, I had to go.
Yeah.
You know, so that was it was entertainment. If
Yeah.
nothing else, there was no other way to be entertained.
Yeah.
Besides television. And
Yes.
I think you had some artists that were dropping these virtual concerts.
Yeah.
After a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there any other things you did or we can transition to things like you kind of wished you had done but
Yeah.
didn't if you're kind of
So I thought I would sew
Okay.
a lot more.
Okay.
I had a brand new sewing machine. I started sewing, like trying to sew masks. And
Okay. Gosh, another thing that was a huge thing.
it was
My
big.
first masks, I was like posting in local artists group because you
Yep.
couldn't get masks. I was
Yep.
like, can anyone sew me?
And you had people
Wow.
sewing masks, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I started, like trying to figure out how to sew masks.
Mm.
And I thought that I would keep the sewing up a lot more. I had a friend who's in Boston, and she asked me to make her like a New Orleans style mask, and I was like, it might be a month, because I'm pretty new at this, but I'll
Yeah.
do it, because the pattern was pretty easy. Um, and I wanted to keep that up a lot more than what I did. I think I enjoyed being outside a lot. As the pandemic went on, I enjoyed, at least if it was my backyard, I had enough space out there. I had enough to do out there with gardening and landscaping and the backyard birding. So I enjoyed being out there more than I did sitting down and sewing. But yeah, so that was one of the things like I really wanted to get into more, was to get better.
Did you buy like the sewing machine in the beginning of the pandemic, or
I
had
had just got, so my brother, I had been wanting a sewing machine, and I think I was being, kind of bratty about it. Like one of those things you keep putting it out there, and I was like, it'd be great if I had a sewing machine, if somebody wants to buy it for me.
Yeah.
And so he ultimately bought it for me for Christmas.
Okay.
And so I got it that December.
Okay.
And so by the time the pandemic hit, I was ready,
Yeah.
but very, very new, So, yeah, the mask thing was a big deal. And so I thought, hey, I have this brand new sewing machine. I can be a hero. I just start sewing.
Yeah.
But that only lasted, few months. And then eventually I was like, let me move it. Then moved it to another corner and moved it to another corner. But yes, I definitely want to get better at my sewing skills, though.
Okay.
I want to take that post-pandemic,
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Is there anything you wanted to do but post-pandemic,
Yeah.
considering
so
picking it up?
See, I hate even saying this because I really, at this point, think it will never happen. But I really would love to get into piano. I played when I was very young. And this is just an ongoing thing for, like, ever. That I'm like, I'm going to play again. I'm going to play again. And it's like I just had a whole year.
To
I could
start
have
and
done
try.
it and
Yeah.
didn't. I mean, I don't have a piano. I would need to get a piano or a keyboard. At some point, I had a keyboard, and I sold it because it just sat there, and it just made me mad that I wasn't playing it. It's just so frustrating because I still I played from like age 5 to 7, which I know is so young.
Very early, yeah.
But I don't know, I'm from like the Northeast. People like make their kids do things really young. And like I still can sit down and kind of play the piano. Like, which is so weird that that's the age that I played, and I can still somewhat play it.
It's probably the best, though, age to learn.
Yeah.
You don't have anything else
I think
going
that's
on.
why I, like, retained it, where there's some other instruments I, like, dabbled in later in life, and I remember nothing.
Yeah.
Even though it's more recent. So, and I really like the piano, and, I, like, hate that I gave it up at age 7 or 8 or whatever. But I mean, part of me, obviously, I need to get a keyboard or a piano, because it won't happen if I don't do that. But then it's like I don't want it to sit there. I don't know if I need to, like, sign up for lessons again. I mean, I can read the sheet music.
Okay.
So I probably can just need, like, a lot of practice.
Yeah.
For some reason, I think, like, towards the end when I was, like, about to stop. And I stopped because I was like a brat. And I was like, I don't want to go to piano lessons anymore. And probably had like a tantrum every time, my parents. So that's why I stopped going. But I think towards the end I was doing like I had like a songbook of like Disney, of Disney music. And so that is what I retain. So I can like still sit down and like play a bunch of Disney songs.
Yeah.
Which is now like my little like 7-month-old, he has a bunch of like little toys that have, you know, kind of just like one octave of like keys on it, like a xylophone or a little toy piano. And so I'll play like I can't play there. There's not room for like the left hand, but just like the right hand of So yeah, wouldn't it be cool if this whole year I like relearned piano? Like,
it would be great. I mean, because I actually, you know, I started at one point. This was like so many years ago, trying to learn how to play the electric guitar, and I wanted to play it so badly. I mean, I started taking lessons. To this day, I still only know how to play Amazing Grace on electric guitar. But yeah, as far as instruments, kind of same. I wanted to get back into it, and I had like former neighbors who play. Well, they play like acoustic. And I remember talking to one of my neighbors once, and she said, you know, you just got to sit down and you got to, you know, you just have to do it. You have to play, you know, because guitar, you have to develop these calluses on your fingers. And so it hurts when you haven't done it, you know. And she was like, you just got to keep playing. You have to keep playing. And I picked it up 2-3 times.
You have a guitar?
I do, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I have. I had an acoustic and an electric, but I only have electric now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I picked it up, plugged in the amp. I mean, you know, but I can only play Amazing Grace, and I never. I mean,
just like play it over and over again.
I did, yeah. You know, because at first time I wanted to make sure I remembered, you know, the strumming of it. And these days you can pull up a video, and I mean, it could teach you how to play a ton of things, you know. I just never, I didn't do it, but that's another, besides the sewing, post-pandemic thing I would like to get back into.
At this point, I'm like, maybe I'll sign my son up for piano at some time, and then I'll like maybe
go
be
from there.
motivated from it. But that's even a long ways out because he's only 7 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think anything else. Oh, you mentioned like the virtual shows. And that's something, I wouldn't say it's something I like wished I'd gotten into, but I was doing a lot of theater pre-pandemic and pre-pregnancy, so a little bit of both of that. It's actually kind of crazy. The last show I did, I was probably like, no, let's see, I was like a month pregnant, but like no one knew.
Right.
And I had committed to that show way before I knew I was going to be pregnant, so I probably wouldn't have
done it.
I wouldn't have done it if I had known, because it was just kind of miserable. Yeah, I've done a lot of theater for, I mean, I've done theater since I was a kid, so I'm doing more local theater and stuff. And that's something, you know, then I had the baby, and then I knew, like, virtual shows were a thing.
Yeah,
and I
that
just
really kicked up.
Yeah, I am not interested.
In virtual shows?
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's there for people that want to do it or need to do it, but everything I love about performing in theater is not there for a virtual show, personally. And the things that I don't like about it are things that every time I do get involved in a show and they end up stressing me out, that all is still there. So it's literally, for me, all the bad with none of the good.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't appeal to me at all.
I wouldn't like it as an audience member. Yeah.
That too. I've supported some people I know. Feel bad almost like this is like, I've supported some people I know that, you know, performing just because like that's their only like means of work right now.
Exactly.
But honestly, sometimes I'll like buy a ticket and I won't even really watch it.
Yeah.
It's just not for me. I love. We could talk about like some of the things we miss the most, and that's live theater. From, I mean, you know,
definitely.
I'm like so into it.
Definitely.
And it's just none of that is there.
Yeah. And it's tough. I mean, like,
virtual show.
Yeah, and it's like even the live music, right? I mean, you know, I had spent 2 years following my favorite singer around, and I love concerts and I love live music.
Yeah.
And, well, almost 2 years. But, you know, when that came to a halt, and a very, very quick halt, you really miss like the interaction with everybody, the energy, you know, in rooms, and especially with us being in New Orleans, to not have live music when we are so used to, at any point of time on any day of the week, there is live music playing somewhere, some type of live show. That was really, really hard.
Yeah.
You know, but I get the, you know, you have artists that need it to keep income going.
Yeah.
And they were one of the least ones really to get a lot of support
Yeah.
during this time. So yeah, I mean the virtual shows were big for them.
Yeah.
You know.
And some, you know, I think I'm just a snob about it. It's just not for me. But some people, you know, obviously watching concerts was already a thing. Even before the pandemic, I just always, I feel like I took a stance against it before, and now I feel bad because that's these people's names.
That's what they
I
need.
my parents are really like into music, you know, mostly like rock, classic rock, and they loved. I grew up, they would just always play this like terrible footage of concerts on the TV, and I'd be like, Mom, Dad, turn this off.
Why are you watching a
so
concert?
boring.
Yeah.
Why are you watching a concert? I hated it. So it was like, I took a stance against it. I hated watching like filmed theater productions, unless it's interesting.
That I can't. I really don't.
So
like.
it's interesting how like Hamilton came out on
Right.
Disney Plus, and it was actually very well done. But that was it was more of almost a film. It was filming the theater production, but it was different angles and a way to make it. I mean, it's I think the best version of that's ever been. I think it was like millions of dollars to make. But just kind of a camera watching the stage. Is not for me. Like,
now there was that one with the guy. I can't remember the name of the show where it was a theater performance.
Oh yeah,
that came out. Was it on?
The one I told you to watch.
Yeah,
was so good.
Yeah. I forgot the name of that.
It's like
one,
a magician / theater.
That Illusionist.
Also, that was I think like after the Hamilton, and they kind of took a similar method of like filming it. Filming it for film.
Gotcha.
But that I think also is something new that came out of the pandemic. So if that continues to be a thing and it's done that well, you know, I might have some interest. But
yeah, because I think that was well done.
It was well done. But before the pandemic, like filming a theater or a concert with just like a camera.
Yeah.
Just one camera on the stage, and I'm like.
Yeah. Now I can say if it's a concert that I've gone to. And I really enjoy it, and that artist makes a video of it, I love seeing it again.
Okay.
You know, like I've been there, I've experienced it, and so I like to look at it from a whole perspective and then remember my feelings when that happened and when that song was played, type thing. I wouldn't necessarily want that to be my only experience.
Right.
But I like reliving it.
Okay.
You know, if I've really enjoyed seeing that, you know.
Okay. Yeah, I just think it's not really for me. What also has been interesting, so I've also, you know, we have like a big burlesque scene in New Orleans. A lot of my friends are burlesque dancers. So they've done virtual shows as well. And those are a few of the shows that kind of like paid to support. And if anything, it's like too intimate, so I can see people liking it, for sure. But it's just it's literally this
There's
video,
a lot
and you're just
happening.
like watching it by yourself with burlesque. So I could see, you know, maybe some people that would be their preferred way to watch.
I don't know if I would want to watch burlesque.
Like, it's not, again, for me, it's not what I like about it.
Right.
I love the audience and the interaction and just the rawness of it being live and like what can happen. But I can see for a different type of person, they might want a more private, intimate setting to watch their burlesque show. I'm just saying, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if I would want to watch burlesque like that.
Yeah, it's a big thing right now, though.
Yeah.
So, which I never had even thought about before the pandemic. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that had to have popped up, especially in the realm of like artistry. And I do wonder how many of those things are going to keep going.
Oh, I wonder too.
You know, I mean, like we talked about, the people who started baking bread to the point to where there was no yeast left in the store. Like, have they gotten so comfortable with baking their own bread?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you make your own things, you make your own stuff, and that is so satisfying and feels so good, and you can taste the difference between that and something that was mass produced, that it's hard to go back to other things. But I wonder how many people just got bread makers and say, "I just make my own bread from now on."
And
you know,
I'm really curious too. And in terms of like theater and music, will it all, as soon as the pandemic's done, will it all just go back to live? Will it be now some live, some film?
right? And I think there will be now a mixture of you know.
And it's so hard for me because I love live theater and live concerts, but maybe there's a whole group of people that are like, you know, maybe handicapped or anything that's like harder for them to go to
get
a
out,
live show, that are like thankful for that this is more of a medium now. So.
Correct. Or some people who were maybe traveling to some of these shows and stuff alone, or didn't have anybody to go with, and they much rather stay home and watch as opposed to just going by themselves. I mean, I feel like you can always meet somebody there because obviously everybody is on the same accord for being there.
Yeah.
So you go there, you're going to find somebody, you know, to talk to, and or who cares? You're caught up in a whole crowd.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that it filled a gap that, you know, probably wasn't getting filled as much, you know, pre-pandemic, because everything was so kind of, everything relied on us being so incredibly social, you know, and we had to dial that back 1,000 points.
Yeah.
You know, like a huge amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to a lot of festivals pre-pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
So that will be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we'll just kind of go back to like, oh, this never happened. And kind of have like pandemic amnesia, or will things change? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, that can lead into to something else.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure. I'd love to like talk to some like local musicians and stuff that have been particularly affected, and how they feel about those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
now I love to talk to some of my local birders.
Oh yeah.
And see how much they're gonna keep up their birding. You know.
Yeah.
Need to just have like a little gathered group of. What do you know about your birds?
We'll have a whole episode about birding. Christi.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have
just
to.
For you.
I know.
I think I'll just go sit on the side. They can.
You know, my heart, I'm just there.
A circle of like these chairs and like you all talking about
picture the birds and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I'll have all my books. And,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. But so I guess we can.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much what I've been up to.
Yeah. So last question. Do we plan on carrying some of these things on with us?
Okay. So I would love to not be addicted to Pokemon Go.
Okay. But you've never let the game go for 5 years, though,
I've never let the game go. I've had, I think pre-pandemic, I was starting to think like, oh, I'll never hit level 40. I'm just going to kind of get over it. And then, so that I'd love to stop, but.
Okay.
Chickens.
Baking.
I want more. Baking, I'd love to like at least continue. I'd love to get back into the baking again and like actually contribute a bit to the household cooking and baking.
At least in the dessert form.
Yeah, I should do that.
Yeah.
And I guess that's. How about you?
Mostly everything. I'll keep up. Yeah.
You picked up some good things.
Yeah.
Some useful, positive things.
Yeah, I would definitely keep making things. I've always enjoyed making things anyway. So, so that I would keep. I will never give the birds up. So yeah,
That's
definitely
awesome.
all that, and I love gardening. So yeah,
That's awesome.
everything is being maintained.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That makes me happy.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Thanks
Bye.
for listening. Bye.